Welcome to the Gray Matters, where we discuss more than just the hot topics and headlines of the day from a black man's perspective. We appreciate that we are not all a monolith and every subject deserves to be explored with nuance, giving a view from all sides of the culture. So, as always, we're here to hopefully bring that to you every week with a little bit of nuance, some class, and just a little bit of fun in there for good measure. Our panel consists of three guys that those of you who have been following us know are absolutely nothing alike. And you'll soon come to find out, if you don't already, just how much we love each other in spite of our sometimes very big differences. I am Ronald, joining you from Delaware today. And I'm joined, as usual, by my brothers Rudolph out in Nashville and O'Kelly in Portland. And if you don't know, then look it up. That's all I'm gonna say. Welcome, brothers from
Mm-hmm.
another mother.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. I really can't complain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just happy we survived last week's episode, so I'm trying to keep the good mojo going.
Father's Day was popping.
Yeah.
I had baseball tournament, so that's pretty much all I did
Mm.
all weekend. We had a little Juneteenth thing, so you know what I'm saying. That was a free day. Ate some good food. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got my all stars coming up next week, so
Mm.
it's
Mm.
about to be it's about to be a mess. It's about to be a real mess. I mean, it'd be a fun mess because baseball.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you don't get, as long as you don't get that what do you call it, 15 runs after four put on you, then did nobody get exploited? Did nobody get embarrassed? As long as it's competitive,
Oh
it
yeah,
should be
see
some
the
fun.
travel ball, they don't give a shit.
No, I know. Yeah, they just be
Yeah,
like,
beat you
y'all want to keep
27 to
playing
nothing.
because it's 27 to
Yeah.
nothing. Y'all want to keep going?
I
You
don't
like,
give a I
nah,
don't care travel ball at all.
for real. So yeah, but it should be a lot of fun coming up, and I'm
Yeah.
glad the weather's warming up a little bit, so we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get it going.
Yes,
All
sir.
If
right,
that's all right with y'all.
it's got
Yeah.
to be all right. We here now.
All right. So, topic for today is actually inspired by a question that the Rev asked me, and I thought it would
Mm.
be a great conversation piece.
Did you now?
I did.
Okay.
You finally came up with a good idea. It only took
I
2 years.
finally, yeah,
Boy,
yeah.
No, me and
broken clocks, right?
right,
Hey,
we chopped it up a little bit on the idea of faithfulness
mm,
in a
Okay.
marriage,
Okay.
and talking on why we remain faithful. Is it based on spirituality, human decency, or what would be kind of the elements that would play into the reason on why faithfulness happens uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in the traditional sense of how it should happen. So I thought we'd explore that a little bit and just kind of uh, have some honest conversations, some honest moments, and just see where we lie. So I'm gonna start off with, since it was Billy's topic, or at least he called me about it. I at least wanted to give him the opportunity to open up on where he was going with the conversation to fill everybody else in as far as
Mm-hmm.
how this plays into the church, or is it even a church thing?
Mm.
so interestingly enough, that was part of the reason why I even brought it up because as someone who has that type of platform in ministry, what I find is that, and I know I'm an outlier on this, um, I don't find it to be particularly um, spiritual or faith based that keeps people faithful in marriages. And what I mean by that is not that I don't believe that your overall faith and spirituality factors into it if you're a person who is a believer. But what I think is too much, how do you say it? Sometimes we blame Satan or we put stuff on God that it really had nothing to do with it. Because there's an awful lot of people out there who don't necessarily have this monotheistic God or this understanding of Yahweh or Allah, however you want to do it. There are people out there who don't believe in any of those concepts of God who are just principled human beings. And I feel like any marriage, if it's going to be successful, it requires that you have certain guiding principles. It requires that you have a certain level of give and take, sacrifice that has to always be in any relationship, marriage or otherwise. And I actually kind of bristle at the idea that good marriages can only come from people who have um, God in their life, if you want to say it that way. Um, and I say that, believe it or not, coming from the perspective that I get really disappointed when I hear people, especially church people and Christians and people who claim belief in Christ. It disappoints me when they feel like they have to find excuses or cop outs um, for why it is that their marriage is failing, instead of just saying, you know what, you know, yeah, I believe in God, but I got some inconsistencies here, and I just don't want to be committed. I just don't want to be faithful. I just, maybe I haven't conquered um, certain things. It's almost like I feel like in the Christian world, we outsource the responsibility of being faithful and wanting to have quality relationships, like just taking it away from
Is
marriage.
that just a Christian concept?
That's the point. I think that unfortunately, Christians care too much, and people who are not Christians really don't care enough at all about it to really drill down and define it that way. But it is not inherently a Christian concept.
I would not say that people who are not Christian don't care much about it.
When I say care, no, I'm talking about the
lose their
definition.
life all over the world who don't pray to Jesus.
No. I'm talking about
behind like infidelity.
No. I'm saying no. When I say don't care, only thing I'm saying is they don't care how you define it or whether you consider it a Christian construct. What I'm saying is, I don't really care enough about how you define it. I know what I care about. I know what my values are. I know what I prioritize. And all I'm saying is, I feel like that whenever the word faithfulness comes up, it's always seems to be given in a Christian or morality, like a spiritual.
Well, it should be. Well, because when I hear faithfulness, I think of Jesus and God and Allah and Muhammad. I think of all religious and spirituality. I don't think of my wife. I don't think of my wife when I think of faithful.
And that's part of the problem, is that even if we don't use the word faithful,
and I've never cheated on my wife.
I'm saying even if you don't use the word faithful,
to tell you on camera if I have. Because if I have, I would have been caught, right? I'm that stupid.
Andre.
I'm that stupid. If I had cheated on my wife, I would have been caught by now. I'm that stupid.
Right. And Heather, we watching every episode.
Right. Every single episode.
She probably in the room.
I don't care.
She's probably in the room like Doug Christie's wife.
Right. Yeah.
She right
Jackie.
there.
Jackie. She right over here. No. Yeah, I'll do it. Real talk though. I've never cheated on my wife, and it has nothing to do with her.
That's my point. It
has nothing to do with her at all.
And that's
why because she sex me right or treat me right or cook the meals
or wrong.
It ain't got nothing to do with none of that.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and peel
I don't
it back
cheat
then.
On my wife, huh?
I was about to say, let's peel it back then. Why would it be for you that you have not? I mean,
because
within a reasonable question.
I'm a solid human because I believe in being solid. And solid is a state of is a lifestyle. You understand what I'm saying? It ain't something that you do 1 or 2 times. It's how you move. So I believe in being solid. So I wouldn't even be with my wife or in a marriage, so to speak, if I was going to actively seek other booty. Why would I do that? I can, especially knowing that I used to be a chooser when I was on the street. I used to be a chooser when I was outside. I could literally have 2 or 3 different, types of ladies that would entertain me You know what I'm saying? In different rotations or
Entertain.
whatever. So why would I be sitting here trying to lie to somebody who has my children and who I love? Like, it ain't got nothing to do with her. I picked her for that. I picked her so I could go in the rafters. You know what I'm saying? Or
I
no?
dig it. No, I get it. Billy just looking stone faced like he ain't understanding.
Right.
Nah, because I'm waiting for Andre because I got something for Paul, and I got a feeling I'm about to
Okay.
break the internet.
Well, if you
with
got
my
something
next
for me, give it
comments.
to me.
Go ahead, Andre. No, go
Pause.
ahead. Nah.
Pause.
See, he went from I'm solid dude to pause. Like,
Nah, real talk. Let's go. I mean, what do you got for me? Like, I don't.
no. I said no. It's not just for you. Here's what I'll
Okay.
tell you, and because I believe that, as I often say, two things can be true at the same time.
Okay.
I absolutely love my wife,
Mm-hmm.
but I would be sitting here lying to everybody if I said that the reason why I'm faithful is out of love for my wife, and for that matter, even out of love for God. I'll be totally honest with you. And this is going to reveal, because I believe that if you claim to love Christ, you got to be honest. You got to be humble. You have to be willing to help other people see that you're not perfect. Like, everybody's broken on some level. And I know me. In fact, I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine uh, earlier in the week. And what I was talking about was the fact that, and just being totally candid here, if I thought that women wouldn't talk and it wouldn't get out, I might be more inclined to sneak out and do something. I just know that there are consequences for it. And so it's almost like, the same reason why I don't go out and drink. Like, I realize there are consequences.
I don't like people.
Oh, I don't like people, but I love women. So
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like people. I love women. I don't like people. To be honest with you. And I definitely don't like learning.
See, you sounding more Christian than I am right now.
I'm not sounding Christian. I'm sounding reclusive and introvert.
Yeah, you ain't
I
heard
don't like people,
Christians
and
lately,
I don't want to
trust me.
learn. I don't want to learn new people's things. Like,
but that's just it. It wouldn't be a matter of learning somebody. I'm not interested in learning you. I'm just looking at you.
If I'm gonna be into somebody new, I gotta learn them. No
entertainment. If you
I gotta learn them,
entertained,
right? I gotta figure out what you like and what you don't like, right?
All I'm saying is that
I'm trying to crack the egg, or you ain't trying to crack the egg.
I'm just saying that faithfulness, in my opinion, honestly, I feel like it's a more principle calculated thing.
Just skip right over that.
Nah, I mean,
skip right over it.
Okay, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back.
Bring it back. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. I'm not even talking like, what you do or what you don't do. I'm saying, like, I don't like people. That's literally why I don't mess with. It has nothing to do with how good a woman my wife is. And I know she's going to hear this and she's going to feel a way about it. But the reason I don't cheat has nothing to do. You said it
like 7 times. Like,
I think she heard it 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
We got it.
She's going to be cutting her eyes at me for weeks now. Nothing to do with her.
I'm not saying that my wife's not special.
And to be honest with you,
I'm just saying.
I'm pretty sure that she'd tell you the same thing about me.
I was just about to say, my wife ain't gonna have no problem. She gonna get a chuckle and laugh at her because she gonna be like, whatever. Like, I'm here because it's cheaper to keep you two. Like, Johnny Taylor was right.
Ain't trying to learn nobody
what you
else's
say, Andre?
smells.
What you got on this?
Well, so my portion, I don't mind going out. I don't mind meeting people. So it ain't got nothing to do with that. And
he a sucker for love, Paul.
I will agree with Paul that it's not solely like the things that my wife does that keeps me faithful to her. For me, it's more the fact that that's my best friend. like
Mm-hmm.
literally.
That's my
And
road dog.
I wouldn't put my wife in a position or slash best friend in a position to hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a complete empath. Like I take on other people's feelings. So like
Mm-hmm.
it would be it would destroy me to know that I've
You
damaged her.
destroyed her, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that um definitely keeps me where it's not even an option like for me to entertain that beyond the fact we got kids and family and all these other things that are built on
There's
top of
so
that.
many variables that don't have nothing to do with me or even her that
Right.
would be broken.
Yep.
It
And,
it it would literally just be the fact that if I came home and she was sitting on the bed holding a phone crying, and I knew that I caused that, that would destroy me on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Like
and
that absolutely would.
and what you just said, Andre, again, like I said, I'm just being candid. If I, and that's why I said, just being honest, I know that is the next step. If I step out and I'm not faithful to my wife, it's one of those things where I care enough about my wife where I would never want her to be hurt in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is what's going to happen. And when I say hurt, I don't even mean just her crying on the side of the bed.
Embarrassed.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I would never. There is something that I feel like
I'm
not
not
going to
going
shame
to
you.
embarrass my wife.
It will never be said. My wife will never be caught off guard because she found out some scandal, heard something, whatever. She is going to know that that is not true. There's clearly a missing piece here. There's a concept because I know my husband would never put me in a position where he's going to embarrass me. And my point is that is a principal thing that you have to own. Stop passing that off on the devil made me do it and God and all that kind of stuff.
That's the thing. Most folks don't understand. You can cheat on your wife if you want to. It's the embarrassment part.
Absolutely.
If you embarrass her.
And that's why I said, just honestly, if I thought that somebody could do it without talking, I might even entertain that. I'm just being honest with you. I'm not saying that's what I'm looking for. I'm just saying the idea of it getting back and destroying her, destroying my kids, destroying my family, that is what keeps me coming home. That's what keeps me faithful. And all I'm saying is I don't believe that to be an inherently or specifically spiritual based or faith based concept as much as are you a human being who loves somebody other than yourself?
Okay, well, you got you got loose boundaries around marriage, but you didn't have loose boundaries around parenting in the last episode.
I don't have loose boundaries around none of them. I'm just being honest with you. I'm being honest with you about me, who I am.
Okay.
I know I'm inconsistent in that area. And a lot of that, here's what I'm saying. A lot of that comes from my own brokenness, past relationships, past situations I've been in. Bro. Right. And that's why I'm saying, I feel like, honestly, Christians, speaking from a Christian perspective now, I feel like more Christians would actually do the church and do their faith in God a better service if they were honest enough to admit that they even have these ideas and thoughts and proclivities and temptations and will admit that it exists instead of acting like they're sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost and it never crosses their mind. Like, cut that out.
Okay. So do you believe that two people who won't come to church can be faithful?
1000%. Double down, triple down on it. Yes. Because I don't believe that. I believe there are plenty of people out there who don't have a particularly strong faith or any faith in God at all, but they have principles. They have an understanding that there is something bigger than themselves, even if it's not God, even if it's just their wife
so those
or their husband.
Okay, so those principles, what principles are there? Are they Christian principles? What principles do you think they are?
Humanity.
Okay.
I can do that.
Humanity.
Yeah. I believe that human beings matter and I'm willing to sacrifice and do something for the greater good, even if I don't necessarily believe that there's a God who created that universe. I understand that human beings are there.
Okay. I feel like I should have asked you these questions in last week's episode. I really do.
That's because you just like to find a
I
trap.
ask questions. I want you to tell me more than I want. I'm not going to tell you what you think. I want you to tell me what you think.
That ain't what you said last week. But
well, anyway, let me go ahead and take control. Let me ask a question.
Bring it back, please. Bring it back. Yes.
So
I feel attacked.
Well, this may not help the situation, but it'll
it's coming. So go on, buckle up.
The people such as the John Grays and the Ty Trebbits and all, there's a lot of church folk who have
I'm out of touch
on record been unfaithful to their spouse, wife, whatever, relationships and all of that. And sometimes on multiple occasions. And they as you mentioned, they give all glory to the devil for their circumstances that they've done.
I know where you're going.
So I'm wondering how we reconcile the church doing being the front for infidelity. Right now there's an issue with preachers and just the overall trust that people have in clergy in general not being able to live up to the standards that they preach. When we got married, me and my wife got married, it was the whole you got 3 strands and the middle one is in the middle.
In a nutshell, don't nobody do their spouse wrong more than pastors and cops. Everybody we look
I was waiting for the question.
Everybody we look toward for guidance and protection and all.
But you just actually that word
tearing a hole in a spouse, whether
thing.
Emotionally or physically.
Let me say something. The word you just used is exactly where I was going. Literally, the word protection. What you have from, and I'm going to take 60 seconds and go off onto the theology part of this.
I'm gonna cut you off this time though.
You got to set your watch. There you go. The idea that in the Christian community, according to the Bible, what the marriage is supposed to represent is Christ and him being the groom and the church being the bride. The idea that Christ will lay down his life for the church, he will protect the church, he will do whatever it is to fulfill his obligation and duty to the church. That is the model that people are taught in the Christian perspective. The idea that you could do your wife wrong and cheat on your wife, the idea that you could do that, if you can do that to your wife, you can do that to the church too. Why? Because you don't value something beyond yourself. You're not willing to protect yourself or protect something that you value. You're not willing to lay down your life. So when you use that word protection, I honestly believe that using those examples, preachers.
What other word should I use?
No, I'm saying that is the perfect word.
No, that's the perfect word. Yeah.
Literally, that's the perfect word because that actually gets at the core of it. And that's why I'm saying you don't have to have a particularly strong faith or belief or even any identity of a one monotheistic God. That does not have to be your concept or how you construct the universe in order to understand that you got to protect people, that you have to be willing. It's just like playing sports, right? We play football. I block for a lot of people that I didn't particularly care for. I definitely run plays for people. I coach people that I can't stand.
That's my whole football career was blocking for people I didn't like.
There were tons of coaches.
Literally, like the entire career. And I was a wideout.
That's why he's mad now. Right?
Still mad.
He's still angry. And that's my point. But the team concept, the leadership concept, those are not things, again, that I feel, and that's why I said I feel like the idea of being faithful, even though that word, like you said, when you say the word faithful, the first thing people think of is something that is like spiritual, Christian.
I like Scott.
All right,
go ahead. I like Scott.
That's the list. That was the list. God, no. That's the list.
That's it.
That's messed
The
up.
only guy I blocked for that I really like.
Okay. Yeah,
He's a
shout out
nice guy.
Scott Saint
Scott's a nice
93.
guy.
Yeah, okay.
He's a
But that's
nice
kind
guy.
of the thing is I don't believe that faithfulness, frankly, I don't feel like, and I'll speak just from this country's perspective, I think that we have to get away from allowing the church, and I know this is going to sound shocking to a lot of people coming from a pastor, but I believe that the church has hijacked and co-opted a lot of terms and a lot of words and a lot of social norms and constructs. They've taken them and hijacked them, and frankly, they shouldn't be owned by just the church.
The church, like the building just did that. Like it just took the words itself. Like what are we doing here, man? Like,
Well, we're talking now. We're talking etymology and words. I'm saying there are certain words that have been
no, we're
associated
not
with
talking.
it.
Okay, we could talk etymology all you want,
Mhm.
but what I'm saying is the ideology, the culture of the church came from somewhere. It came from human beings. It didn't come from a building. It didn't come from a book.
Absolutely, no, right, absolutely, yes.
That's
And
all I'm
on
saying, brother. Like we can't just be like the church and be obscure about it.
and so essentially, you're 100%. And so what I'm saying is, I feel like we need to broaden it out. Literally need to broaden it out and stop acting like, well, how can you be faithful if you don't believe a certain thing? No, because I'm a human. Like you said, I'm a decent human being. I value what I portray and put out into this world, and I value loving and protecting and support. This woman actually has my legacy. Like you said, Billy Craig's name will go up in the rafters. Only it'll be in the rafters only if my wife and I can get my kids, and if I can get my wife there, like I'm not going into the Hall of Fame by myself, right? Not as a human.
Nobody does.
Nobody goes by themselves. And the idea,
even if you're the guy that gives the speech, the
you didn't
reason
do it
you're
on your own.
there is because about
50 other
25,
people,
30
yeah,
people.
yep. Somebody, and there's a whole bunch of people, and there's going to be some.
Speaking of a Hall of Famer, to the Hall of Famer to your right,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The only Hall of Famer on this show understands exactly what I'm talking about.
We say any Hall of Fame that counts,
right?
But when you look at it, like, so my parents have been through the ringer, and their generation, didn't. I won't say their generation didn't believe in divorce, but at least it didn't happen for their generation within my family.
But you're right; they didn't believe in that.
Well, but the generation before our parents, you got to remember how they had women pimped up. They couldn't get bank accounts. They couldn't get property.
Big shout out to the patriarchy.
Big shout out to the patriarchy. My bad. Now back to what Dre was talking about. There it is.
So, so I have that as an example to say, okay, there's shit's gonna happen. Like life happens. And my parents have fought through that for 52 years, I want to say at this point. And that's an example. Awesome. But now we're at this new microwave generation. This kind of gets back to what we were talking about last week, where it's like, this shit don't feel comfortable. I'm done. Like, how do we reverse, or at least attempt to reverse that? Like, we're all three of us, for people who may be new to this show, all three of us are married. We all got families.
Married.
Like married. We
married, and we weren't always married.
Right.
No, we wasn't always married. We used to be some players for real.
We
was out here choosing.
We had options.
I've always been clean.
Really, the fact that you went to St. X in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Roger Bacon, and played sports. Stop it! Like, let's be honest with these people.
I left a whole life behind. Like, nope. Sorry, St. X.
We had no complaints as teenagers.
No, like
none.
Young adults. Like, I still am identified as a person who people pointed to and was like, I can breed with him. We can make a superhuman. Like, just that is 100%.
That's because you was 5'10" in the 4th grade. Like,
you know what's funny is Walker hit me the other day. We was talking about something. He was like, man, I remember like dads was like putting their daughters on the bed when you came over to pick them up.
Man,
like Like, oh, he go to St. X. You need to go ahead and get pregnant by him.
It's no. All jokes aside,
like this is real. It was really
listen. That's a
that
whole.
level.
That's a whole different episode of the Gray Matters that we're going to
Boy,
pick
is
up
that a
another
whole nother
time
episode.
because I got stories to tell and I ain't sharing none of them.
Man, you put
How
that.
about
You
that?
put that jacket. You put that jacket on, and you got that football bar in the back.
Man,
Boy.
Oh Lord.
and don't get a Captain C on it because then
Lord.
yeah.
Ooh.
Like
Lord.
So all that to get back, we done started
right.
doing this back in my day.
You know, cut the tape. Cut the tape. Too much information.
But seriously, like, what do y'all attribute? Like, since we've talked about why we remain faithful, like, what do you attribute lack of faithfulness to? Like the Derek Jacksons who get online and present themselves as one way, but dog the shit out of his wife as another way. Like
brokenness.
I got this.
Brokenness.
I got this. Lames. If you wasn't one of us who had that jacket with some things on it,
if you wasn't choosing,
and you wasn't choosing, and you happen to figure out how to finagle your way into some money, now you feel like these ladies owe you some. But if you was out here, you know what I'm saying, getting it as a young boy, you ain't really like tripping on none of that.
Nope.
When once you find your coin, you know what I'm saying? Because you just get what you get. You get, you fish, you pull it out the lake, and then you go home. Some of these guys who was never ever able to fish are addicted to fishing.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Yeah. They want to be Andre Collins. They want to be Paul Wilson. They want to be Billy Craig, but they never were those guys. In fact, Craig, we talk about all the time a specific human being, and I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to give him the satisfaction, but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm putting his name in the comments.
You stupid. You stupid. Don't do that. Well, this cat constantly was running around trying to mess with a young lady that I would mess with or whatever. He would, you know what I'm saying, trying to salt my game, as we would call it back in the day. Did they still call it that? I don't know. I'm old. See? You know what I'm saying? That's what we say. He put salt in the game. But he was one of them dudes. And he was always running like 3 steps behind me on purpose. And I'm like, dude, I don't even see you. So why are we even dealing with each other?
Why? How do we even get here? Yeah.
How do we get here? Because I don't see you.
This is not a competition. Yeah. This is not a competition, right?
Yeah. It's not a competition. It's a stalking at this point. Because if it was a competition, we would be after the same thing. We wouldn't be after something I already have.
This man got papers.
You see what I'm saying? Like, if I already got it, how we in competition for it?
And that's why I said the word broken, because really what you just described is what I mean when I say brokenness. If you're still and I mean, I'm not placing judgment because everybody to each their own. However, if you are 30, 40, 50 years old and you still trying to be a young player, then that means that you have some unfinished business that you just haven't let go of. Wow. And what I'm saying is emotionally, that is a sign of brokenness. And psychologically, they talk about it. It's almost like any other thing psychologically, where if you still, like, if it's almost like if I'm out here on the basketball court and I'm still willing to die just to body somebody up, it's like, man, I ain't got that much to prove no more on the basketball court. I've let that part of me go. But if I'm still that level competitive, then it shows a sign of brokenness that, frankly, you're willing to risk it all, so to speak. You're willing to risk it all to catch up on a dream that you let go.
This guy was chasing me at 15 years old.
I mean, you want me to say his name because you keep bringing it up?
No, I'm not. I don't want you to say his name because I'm not
You
about to
know
give
I
him that
do
kind of
it.
life.
You know I'll do it.
I'm not about to you that kind of. I'm about to give him that kind of life. And real talk, like
It's
I mess with,
sad.
I mess with his older brother. Like his older brother is a cool cat.
Here we go.
Pause
Like
again.
Andre Collins is, like I don't know why we need to bring up Andre.
Yeah, I'm about to say
No,
you snuck out the back door on that one.
yeah,
Okay.
hey,
Right. Because right. You was talking about Carlos.
yeah, that's what I'm talking
But no,
about.
seriously,
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's
Yeah.
like that is a sign of somebody. It's like that's a sign of a hurting individual, and not to get super like
That was
psychological.
but
Yeah,
can we agree that was some weird? That was one of the weirdest
absolutely.
things about our high school experience.
But here's the thing: if you spend enough time, and I'm willing to put dollars to donuts. I'm willing to bet that if you spent time with a Jackson, if you spent time with the John Grays or whatever, and you actually sit down, what you would find out, just like all of us, none of us are perfect. We all got some brokenness, but that's clearly a sign of a brokenness in an area where it's like you're actually a world figure. You're famous. You have an actual platform and something to lose, and you're willing to lose it on something so small.
Stupid. Not small.
Totally
Stupid.
trivial.
Well, but this is, and I think this is a portion of where people always say, are you ready for fame? And we always think of not being ready for fame as far as the money. Yeah. And be like we talk about, we'll just say John Morant or Zion. At this point, we can use
both
Zion.
of them.
Both of them. Both
fill in the blank. Keep it going. You can keep going. Yeah.
They weren't ready for fame in not only just the money portion, but what comes with it. And I think there's a lot of times that we don't anticipate what comes with the fame of being whoever you are. John Gray, like on an average day, I mean,
that's also part of why I don't cheat on my wife. My wife is a whole celebrity. If I get caught cheating on my wife, it's gonna make the fucking news. And pardon my language. It's gonna make the news.
Yeah.
Like the news though.
Right.
Like y'all gonna be looking at me like what's that boy TJ and Robot? Like it's gonna or Ume it's gonna make the news because she's so friggin' important.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've already resigned that I literally, again, not even a thought, but like my wife is a whole Delta and I can't go nowhere without seeing one. So yeah, it's a wrap.
Like,
no. She's a Delta though.
Yeah, I know.
She is like when you look up Delta, it's like Jackie be like,
yeah, like there's at least once a week where I'll go somewhere and somebody say, "Hey, Jackie's husband." I ain't even Andre no more. It's like, "Hey, Jackie's husband." So like the option's not even it. The option wouldn't be there. Yeah. But when we come to the John Grays, all those different people, like, is there a need to? Well, one, I want to say part of this, and it alludes to what you said. They need to grow up. Like that's the first thing that I want to say. But
understand where you at and what you are.
Yeah. No, and also but also as a cautionary tale for people who like, man, I want this. I want to like. There's a lot that comes with it. I can speak from my perspective, and I hold a decent perspective because of following my brother and me being who I was. That it is a different level, and but it's like, how are we preparing us? Because at this time now we all have children. Like the conversations, I'm curious on the conversations, Paul, that you have with your sons and Billy, that you've had with your son and daughter about just what's coming down the road, like how changes are happening and what those conversations look like.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Being in Utah was different because, like I said, it's a lot smaller. So I knew anything I did was going to make the news. Anything my children did was going to make the news. So I explained that to my children, like flat out, like, look, whatever you do, your blast zone is at our house. You can't do whatever you want to do in public. We have to move a certain way. And that's kind of how we've been moving for the last, forever. I would say going on, almost 15 years now, because we've been in a situation where if I get arrested or if my children do something stupid, it's going to make the news. So living like that is different. It's hard. It's different to raise your children. Your children are really different and they resent you for it at that point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They resent that part of the game, especially when they become teenagers.
Yeah. And I'll piggyback on that. I'm not famous, but
No, we're not famous,
but
but we're
because
famous
Delaware
enough
is,
to make the
I was getting
news.
ready to say, because Delaware is so small, and just
Mhm.
by virtue of the fact that I pastor a church, I have a certain level of influence and different things that
Mhm.
go on. One of the things is I tell my son in particular, because he's older, he's 3 years older than my daughter, but I tell him all the time, as a teenager, as a young black man, understand this: you're a kid. You're not responsible for being an adult. That doesn't mean though that you can outrun your past. So make sure that you stay in the sandbox so that you don't have to make any adult decisions. So I always tell him, don't do anything illegal, right? Don't do anything that's going to hurt somebody, even if it is legal. And be a kid, right? Don't put all this pressure on yourself. With that, though, and again, piggybacking off of what Paul said, what I tell my son, especially, but also I tell my daughter, is make sure that you understand that at some point, and I don't know exactly when that moment comes, at some point, you can't outrun your past.
Mm.
At some point, the decisions you make are going to follow you. And I don't mean the people are going to follow you or that whatever, but it's like you can do certain things that fairly or unfairly, they stick with you.
Mhm.
And part of the reason why I tell him that is because I want him thinking about it, not in a scary type of way or be on guard, but just understand that you don't have to put all this pressure on yourself. Go out here and learn some things. Just don't do anything that, because you're a kid, it's not permanent. I told him there was stuff I did when I was 14. I literally look back on it and laugh. I literally look back, not because it was funny at the time, but because I remember how much I felt like it was a big deal and it wasn't. And
Mhm.
I don't want to stray too far off the conversation about being faithful, but the point is there's a time when you're going to need to be faithful to a woman. There's a time when you're going to be need to understand those things. And I literally don't want you to be that guy that at 30 and 40 years old is still trying to chase your childhood, trying to
Well,
prove something.
well, you
I don't
got to
want you
be
to go.
faithful to yourself.
Yes. And
It ain't
understand
it
that
ain't
your
about
name,
me. You're never let's say this as all three of us as men together who are married, like married, who right? Um I'm not faithful to my wife. I'm faithful to myself.
yeah,
I have a set of standards that I live by and a set of codes that I live by. It has nothing to do with my wife. My
Mhm.
wife is the person that is my partner in life that I
she's
have
the
chosen.
recipient. Yeah, she's the
Yeah,
recipient of those
she's the person.
principles. Yes.
It wasn't her that made me not want to like slide broads. It wasn't her. It was me. You understand
You
what I'm
knew what you
saying?
wanted. Yeah. And that's the thing. She not only is
Yeah.
that part of the that's part of the cooperative, that's part of the relationship.
Right,
Right.
right, right, right.
But that's so true because I feel
You got
like
to be through with you before you pick up
yeah,
somebody else.
something I never forget this years ago. My dad and I were talking about this. one of the things I realized was I didn't take myself seriously enough. I would have ruined any woman I married prior to meeting
Mhm.
my wife because I didn't take myself seriously enough. It
I
wasn't even
ruined
like,
every woman
yeah,
I met prior to my wife.
Hmm.
yeah, I ain't counting bodies, but you got more than me. That's all I'm gonna say.
Who
What a,
said that? Like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean?
You the one talking about, so I ruined everybody. I ain't gonna say I ruined
No, I
everybody.
self-sabotage. Literally, I sabotage every
Ah, okay. Got it.
single
Yeah.
solitary like relationship that could have went
I
anywhere.
see
I
what you're saying. Yeah.
sabotaged it.
Nah,
mhm.
yeah. I
Like
was the opposite.
there were young ladies who had put in work and deserved my affection, attention, and faithfulness, as you say. I sabotaged that.
Yeah. I was the opposite. I was willing to anybody who was willing to reciprocate, I was willing to give it. And I'm gonna be honest with you.
Oh, so you a sucker for love.
My wife was the first, and I'm saying it like this, and I don't mean
I'm
this to
just a
anybody who's
sucker for your love.
my I'll say this. My wife, more than anything else,
Sucker for love. Sucker for
my
love. Sucker
wife
for
is the
love.
most loyal and principled, committed person I think I've ever met in life. My wife, if she says
Had you had
she's
met
there,
her 6 months earlier than you actually met her, you'd have ruined the whole relationship.
maybe not 6 months, but definitely we go back a year or two. Absolutely.
You would have skipped
I'd
right
have
up.
tore it up.
You'd have
Well,
towed
no, I
up
wouldn't have skipped it over.
and she would not be Sharice Craig. She'd
But
be
here's it,
Sharice
but
something else.
it's funny that you said it because here's where I'm going with it.
I'm saying that with Heather too.
But here's the
If
thing, Paul.
I'd have messed all over that.
Personal, here's what happened. I wouldn't have, I did. That's why I
Okay.
say my wife
Hmm.
is the most loyal person. My wife
Well,
literally is the one person that is the reason why I can honestly say I've only been married one time to one woman. It ain't because of me. My wife allowed me as a younger Billy, she allowed me to grow up and finish, and she
Heather
was
did the
still
same thing.
there. She
Heather
literally
did,
was like, I will allow you to finish growing up." And honestly, that's not something I would recommend anybody else do. That's not something
I
I
would not
prescribe.
recommend that to anybody.
It
Heather
ain't
did
for
the
the
You,
same
faint of
thing with
heart.
me. Heather
my
was with me
yes,
at Quincy.
yeah.
Heather was riding with me when I went out to Quincy.
My wife is literally the
And
definition of favor.
I messed over it even through the
Yeah,
Mount St. Joe years. And she stuck with me, stuck by me, and we here today.
yeah.
But I would not advise anybody to take Heather's route to finding a husband.
And I hate to say that because
Because
honestly,
I'm not no, don't look
what
at
my
the
wife
way Heather
did,
got her husband as the way to get a
listen,
husband. It's not gonna work.
I'm telling my daughter and my son, don't do what your mama did. Be
No.
better than your mama.
Mm-mm.
Please be better than your mama. And it's like, and I mean that. I mean that wholeheartedly. I agree with you, Paul. My wife, it wasn't I would have messed it up. That's why I said it wasn't a matter of a few months before.
She let me mess it up.
My
She
wife,
let me mess it up until I got it right.
my wife deserves
Ain't that crazy?
everything good that comes to her.
As
And I know,
we all athletes, and we always wanted a coach who would allow us to fail, right?
right.
Without yanking us out the daggone huddle.
Right.
Let me fail until I get it right without yanking me. Right?
Yeah.
That's what my wife did.
Now, for the people who are watching, wondering why the hell I ain't got nothing to say, my route is a little bit different because I met my wife older,
Mm,
where I think we were 30, 36 when we met. So
okay.
most of those ways had to be, I had to come correct in
Gone.
order to even,
You couldn't even you had to come correct.
right. Yeah. Like I had to be established, even, especially since I totally outkicked my coverage. Like
Oh
I,
Lord.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh Lord.
You only
Yes.
had- you only had
Yes.
to make a face.
Yes.
write
You only
that
had to
down.
make a
That's a
face.
whole
Yes.
episode. That's a whole episode. That's 2 episodes by itself.
So, but the one thing that I did want to say
we
as we wrap,
all Janikowski that thing.
the one thing I wanted to say before we wrap though is that, part of my journey of being faithful and just loyal to the family structure, to get back to last week's, episode was the fact that I recognized that, and I think all three of us at this point, and you've alluded to it, that um there's something bigger than us out there. Like our names are bigger than we are.
Yes.
Like the fact that I'm carrying the Collins name and I'm following my brother and I'm following my father, like, and my mother's a whole legend in Cincinnati public school street. So
man, look,
yeah.
My wife saw a picture of your mother on the book when I was just scrolling by, and it shook her. She was like, "Oh Lord."
Yeah.
My wife is still afraid of your mama.
So, I recognize, like you said, if you did anything, Paul, that it's making the news. Billy, even as a pastor, like, you represent an entire faith organization. Because if you mess up, like, when John Gray mess up, he messing up for you too. Like,
thank you. I'm catching strays.
So, and for me, it's the fact that I'm ruining, or I would potentially ruin the Collins name. Like and so that's the attitude that I have going into it, that I wish other people would look at before. I'm not saying to get married, like that's not the whole point of this whole thing, is to say, if you want to be that dude, be that dude. Like, bag as many as you want, do what you want to do. But when you drag somebody else into that, this is
selfish and irresponsible.
Yeah, that's where I have the issue. Is that you could, if you want to be single, stay single. Like, and don't get married and do single things. Like, that's really what
Kanye was talking about. He wasn't when he talking about slavery is a choice. What he meant is marriage is a choice.
And there's that. And then there's that. Yeah. My APB, in light of all this talk of faithfulness, is, and just continuing with the understanding the faithfulness, I believe we can all say that it isn't just a religious thing or a spiritual thing. My APB is going to be a little bit different this time, in that I want to put a call out for people that are interested in reconciliation.
Okay.
What I find is
that
too many people think that relationships, there was damage, there was brokenness, there was hurt. Somebody wasn't faithful. And I think of this in particular. We mentioned this earlier, talking about was it Derek Jackson or even John Gray and the different ones. They get the headlines, right? But we know this is not just something unique to.
They only get the headlines, brother, because they promote.
They put themselves out
there. And they put themselves. They sell lifestyle.
Exactly.
When you slang lifestyle, you a target, brother.
And I say that, and I bring that up because I think a lot of times people. And I talk about this. I say this all the time. I kind of, probably say it even a little bit too much for some people. I feel like a lot of things can be resolved if you're willing to do the work. Reconciliation, and I teach this, from scripture and church, how to forgive someone is not the same as reconciliation, and reconciliation is not the same as restoration. You don't have to restore a relationship. You don't have to put it back together and make things like they were and try to build that bridge and all that connectivity back to be able to find reconciliation. You can reconcile, make peace with something. And so I know this sounds kind of broad and generic, but my APB is out there. We need to find some reconciliation for some of those damages, because that's where people end up repeating the cycle. They keep doing the same thing, and then you keep hurting the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. And it's because ultimately you didn't reconcile, not just with the people in the past, you didn't reconcile with yourself. You didn't forgive yourself. You didn't make peace with yourself. And so I just want to put an APB out there just saying, where is the reconciliation? Go seek reconciliation so that you can have peace with yourself, with the people in your life. And that way you're not running from things, avoiding things, scared of things. Find some
blaming other people for things.
Blaming other people, all of that. Exactly.
I dig that.
Okay.
And also,
I can dig that.
On a side note of reconciliation, since we go in there, I also want to look out for the people that are willing to like, to steal Billy's phrase, put in the work to be able to stay in relationships. We quit way too easy on good people because it got uncomfortable once. Newsflash for anybody who's in any kind of marriage.
For
This
5 minutes.
It gets uncomfortable as hell repeatedly, at least once or twice a month. Easy.
I was gonna say a week.
A week or a day in my house. Like, hey, it happens.
So just know that if your end goal, again, this is for the people whose end goal is to get married, I think you got to be able to work on conflict resolution and being able to power through things, because you never are going to find a marriage that doesn't have conflict. Life happens and things are going to get hard. So I'm looking for people who are willing to fight.
And your marriage is only as good as your fighting style.
Yes.
So whenever you get pissed off, however you handle that is basically going to be how your marriage goes. Whether you're male, female, whatever pisses you off to the highest level of pissivity, how you handle that is how you're going to handle your marriage.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to deal with that. Like that level of pissed off is going to happen once a month, but you're going to have conflict at least once or twice
all the time.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I'll say, just real quick, just to piggyback very quickly, some of that unfortunately comes with shame and unmanaged expectations. People think me and my wife are going through something, and we make decisions on how we're going to handle the conflict or how we're going to resolve things based on what mama would do, based on what my best friend would do, based on whether or not somebody's going to judge me or shame me. Do this for you, right? Do it for you. Don't do it because other people are going to expect something or because other people are going to be saying things. Like, do it for you. Reconcile and make that work. Put that work in for you.
Marry the person that you would hang out with if their genitals didn't work.
Man,
you're gonna.
That's a great way of putting it.
You're gonna spend most of your time not doing what you wanted to do when you saw that person the first time.
What Bernie Mac say?
Most of the time, you're not doing that. And it's not
Count
because
it if you ain't got nothing to do.
Yeah, it's not because she ain't gonna let you. It's because you don't even want to.
Got shit to do. If you ain't got nothing to do,
right? I got to pay these bills,
bruh. Find the person who after y'all bust one, she got conversation.
Yep,
that's Absolutely. It. If she ain't got no conversation other than, like the Shaka Khan, the you know what I'm saying? If she ain't got nothing more than that,
really, blasphemy. You just gonna run Shaka Khan. Shout out to Shaka Khan. She's one of my
Shout out to Shaka Khan.
One of these days, I'm gonna tell y'all the story about me and Shaka Khan.
I don't want to hear that story about Shaka Khan because I'm pretty sure it's gonna ruin my love for her.
It's really not that bad. I'm sure we all have one. But anyway, shout out to
I'm just saying, I don't if she was gonna give you a shot, I don't.
Hey, listen. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us here on The Grave Matters. We hope to see you again next week when we bring you some fresh topics and ideas and our takes. We want to say thank you for being our subscribers. We want to make sure that if you have comments, leave those for us. If you have questions, topic ideas for the show, feel free to leave those for us as well. We love to hear your feedback. We want to make sure that we always bring you a quality product. So thank you once again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Be blessed.
Peace. Oh, and send all your hate mail to Billy.
So a preacher, a stay-at-home dad, and a rapper walk into a bar. I am my ancestors back from the grave, no longer a slave, beat to the gods, kneel, pray, surviving my day. A threat to society, cause Malcolm showed me the way. I'm young, black, intelligent. Oh, now they afraid. It's too late, I am the king, I am the spark to the brain. I am the light that fought the dark, and now you're seeing the rain. I am the thing they spent their whole life killing. To find out, I am the rose that grew from under their building. This ain't for life, this is a fight so you can and open your mind. Peel the scab back, reveal the blood, and see what we'll find. I promise. Like LeBron, I am just one of a kind. No longer will I accept the blind, leading the blind. Keep it a buck, say what I want, not giving a screaming afterward like Park until the day my heart stops. And when I do, remember when I take my last breath, just remind the tape and witness all the knowledge I left. The great. So I said, a preacher, a stay-at-home dad, and a rapper walk into a bar. The gray matters.